Alright guys, you wanted it, so here it is. Finally, I'm starting to build the cages that were in the last video, or one of the last videos, because I don't even know what order this is going in. I have so many cages to build. You guys wanted to see them. I'm actually going to be doing 2, where's the other one? At a time. So I already started doing the hardscape in these first 2. We're going to jump into this. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Alright, so starting with this first one, I'm doing just the hardscape as of right now. I'm about to start foaming both that one and this one. But these are some big pieces of wood I actually picked up at Aquashella. They're a bit heavy, so as you can see on the side there, I did silicone them in place, but I'm doing them kind of at different angles. I think they're going to look really cool. I'm not sure what snake I'm going to put in this one yet. Again, just siliconed it, gonna let that dry, and then go ahead and start foaming it. Now coming on over here to this cage. So I've had these 3 pieces of wood for a very long time now. They're very viney. You can see they look really cool. This one's all twisted up. That one looks like a funny mustache. And this is basically a smaller version of that top one. I'm gonna do 2 very big pieces of cork bark in the background that I can also possibly put plants in, the tops of them as well. I think this one's gonna look really cool, and I will go ahead and add some cork bark on the sides as well on this one. This one I think I'm gonna leave pretty plain and not too much cork bark going in this one. So with that, we're gonna get the foam in these bad boys, and I'll see you guys here in a minute. I think I'm actually, so I just roughly foamed around the wood, but I think I'm gonna leave that just the way it is. Actually, I'm gonna put some net pots in here. You can see one back there on the floor. There it is. So I'm gonna put a couple of these like kind of behind the wood a little bit so plants can kind of grow in behind it. And then I'm just gonna silicone it and put some bedding on the back. And I think that's gonna look really good. Give the snakes lots of space in this particular cage. Maybe put a couple big massive plants in here. But that's it. That's pretty much all I'm gonna do for this one, which I'll show you guys the finished product here in a little bit. And then coming over to this one, so I got it all foamed in where I wanted to on the back wall. So we are gonna go ahead and flip this one over on the side. I'm gonna do a little foam on the side, nothing crazy. All right, so we went ahead and foamed that side. I added this piece of cork bark as well so I can plant another plant there. I absolutely love using the cork rounds, cutting them in half, using those as planters versus just putting the net pot. So that side's nice and dry, so now we're gonna lay the cage down on this side so we can go ahead and start foaming this side of the cage. Also guys, big announcement, we are going to be at Aquashella in Chicago. So if you guys are up north somewhere, anywhere near Chicago, and you would like to come and see us, make sure you come to Aquashella. We're gonna have a booth there with the Vision Cage guys, also custom cages, custom aquariums. We'll be there, we'll be set up, we'll have the banner set up, we're gonna be selling photography, possibly selling merch. So if you guys are up there and you'd like to stop by and see us, make sure you come to Aquashella. I believe it is August 14th and 15th.
Now guys, we do have the cages inside after the backgrounds are done. I did do peat moss in this one and eco earth in this one, so you can kind of see the color difference. The eco earth is a little brighter, where the peat moss has a little bit more stuff in it. It's a little darker. Now something before we move forward, I just actually started to do, which I really do enjoy. If you look here, it's very black. That's because I put blackout tint on the outside of the cage, so you cannot actually see the wood. So the difference between this one and this one over here is night and day. So yes, the wood will be eventually covered with universal rock, but you're still going to see the wood through the glass right there. So I didn't want that to happen, so I am going to go ahead and black this one out as well with that blackout tint. So before we move forward, I'm going to do that. All right, cool. So the tint is on. As you can see on the outside, it doesn't really look too good. Now, if you guys are doing these cages and this is going to be freestanding in your house, it's a good way to hide what's on the other side of the glass. But to me, all that matters is right here. So all you see is this nice clean black look, and you won't see the wood through it. So now we're going to get this cage back into the little shelf, and then we're going to start planting it. So now normally you guys have seen me use the little clay pellets, but I'm not going to be using those. So I'm going to be using these now. These are foam mats. They work just as well as the foam pellets, They work just as well as the clay pellets. But these fit to cut in there, they're not as messy, and they're a lot lighter. So we're going to be putting both of these in the bottom of these cages. Now these were actually a little bit bigger when I got them. I cut them down to size because, believe it or not, they do sell these in an 18 by 18 piece, but it's more expensive to buy it in an 18 by 18 than it is a little bit bigger and just cutting it down. Now that those are in, we're going to get the drainage layer, which is going to be like your normal weed block. We're going to get that cut to shape. We're going to lay that in there and then start putting substrate in. Alright, so now adding the substrate, guys, like I've said in past videos of me doing this, I do make my own substrate. It consists of repti soil, oak leaves, sand, peat moss, sphagnum moss, charcoal, and I'm forgetting something, orchid bark. So every single one of those items has a beneficial job to do in the enclosure. It's also a lot cheaper than buying your own AVG mix because this is pretty much making your own. So it's cheaper, especially doing it in bulk like I do. Adds up if I were to buy a lot of AVG mix. So we're just going to go ahead and fill both of these up with substrate, and then we're going to get to planting. Now obviously I have a lot of plants to choose from. These two cages I'm going to build strictly off of what I already have. So we're going to start with some bigger stuff and kind of work our way up to see what we can get going in these cages. I don't really have an idea roughly, so I'm going to pick out some stuff and bring them in there. Good. This is a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So I think I'm going to start with what I got, and we're going to go from there. So I got a couple different vining plants for each, some bromeliads for each. This one's going to hold a lot more plants than this one is, so yeah. I guess we're going to go ahead and start with this one, and then we'll move on to this one. So I do need to drill a hole for a bromeliad, but like I said, I'll start with some. So this little guy's cool. This guy hopefully, now this cage, I didn't do any foam on the side. This is straight silicone with, peat moss with some orchid bark in it. So I'm hoping this vine will still kind of grow up this, well, this particular vine likes a lot of light. So I want to make sure I do put it in a spot that does have a lot of light. So I'm going to put this guy right here in the front. Kind of give him the chance to grow up the wall. Once. Nice and easy for him. Now, this vine, I can't really remember what type of vine it is. I do have it in one of the other cages. It looks like it has completely grown through the sphagnum moss, so it's pretty much just a sheet of sphagnum moss now, so we're just going to go ahead and lay this in there. So this one's really cool. This plant right here, if I'm not mistaken, is called a silver sword. I know a couple of my buddies up in Canada have it. I've had this plant for, God, I want to say close to about a year now. It's definitely outgrown the tub that it's in. So I want to finally put it in a cage. I was waiting for a tall cage like this one to put it in. Really awesome plant. You can see the roots all here growing to the side of the tote. But it's definitely outgrown this container. I kept it in this container because it's a very high humid plant. It's actually sitting in water. Nothing wrong with that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This really, and the reason why it's called a silver sword, you guys can see, it does have like a silverish hue to each leaf. Really neat, really pretty plant, pretty vine. I'm just gonna try and clean off some of this. The root system goes all through this moss. So this one's gonna kind of be the centerpiece of this cage here. So I'm just gonna place it in here for right now. We're gonna come back with wire in a little bit. I'm gonna pin it up to the background so it kind of stays in place, and hopefully we'll start to grow up that background. Alright, now so for pinning up the plants, what I like to use is floral wire. It's a green wire. Florists use it to put bouquets and things like that together for weddings. You're basically making a little staple out of this. This way it goes into the foam and can hold up the different vining plants. Just try and teach them which way to start growing. So I'm going to take this and put it over the silver sword and kind of push it into the foam a bit there. Get that one to stay. So I'm going to take another one. So by doing this, you're training the plant to grow up, and hopefully the root system will start to then grow up the wall as well. But you can barely see the little staples there. Let's see, there is actually a couple of pieces here. Once this piece gets a little bit longer, I can actually start training it to go up this side wall here. But basically those staples that you make, I've seen people use bobby pins, safety pins, all types of stuff. They just simply cut them and use them to pin up the plants. You can see this vine over here behind me in the paludarium. I did use the same technique to start the vines on the wall to get them to grow up. Now over in this cage, this vine isn't quite long enough yet. I also didn't really use foam in this cage. I used very slight foam just around the wood to help it blend in a little bit better, so I'm not going to be able to do this one quite yet. I kind of want this one to kind of grow around the wood as well. So now to the fun part. This is the part I really like, dressing the tanks, adding the insects and stuff like that. So first thing we're going to add are the springtails here. So let's see. They float. If you do not remember me telling you guys, you can see them all right there. All those little white bugs. They look like little white fleas, so these are the springtails. Alright, so as for the isopods, I've picked the powdered blue pies for this enclosure and the Spanish orange for this enclosure. So we're going to start here with these powdered blues. I love these guys. So these guys are really pretty. Man, there's a lot in here. So you can kind of, whoops, if you guys come on really close here, you can see there's a little small one right there. There's a bigger one right in there. Let me see if I can find a big one for you guys. Hang on. Hang on, hang on. Here we go. Look at them. Really, really pretty isopods. Have that beautiful pied look to them. So we're going to go ahead and try and get some of these guys in there. If I can. There's lots of babies already. Oh, there's a big one. Look at that guy. So he's the epitome of pied. You can see that white on him, along with that blue hue. No. Oh, okay, bye. Alrighty. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. But these are the guys that I'm going to put in this one. Alright, so now the Spanish orange, these guys are really cool. These were actually, I think, one of the very first isopods I ever bought for a bioactive enclosure. God, these ones are massive. So, if you guys come here, you can see them. Right there's a big one. There's another big one in that little hole right there. These guys are wicked cool. Clearly you can see them, they stick out because they're very brightly orange. That right there, everybody, is an isopod, but hopefully it's in focus. Alright, so now that the bugs are in, it's time to add the good stuff. So I always start with the basic, pretty much oak leaves, because this stuff, the isopods absolutely love it. They go crazy for it, so just kind of sprinkling that around. There's also crushed up oak leaves as well in the substrate. I add the oak leaves to both cages. There's many different types of oak trees and oak leaves, so keep that in mind. You don't always have to get the same. I switch it around so they're not all the same, but I just got this bag, so I figured why not use it. Alright, so now for this cage, using a couple of different decorating giant leaves. So these are almond leaves, Indian almond leaves. Pretty cool. They're flat, they're round, but just kind of taking them, spreading them around a little bit, making it look cool. And then I'm going to be taking these seed pods. Couldn't tell you what they're from. Don't remember off the top of my head, but one there, one back there. Now the reason for these is very simply, over time they'll break down and they'll be food for the isopods and springtails, just like the oak leaves will. So in this one, just put one big leaf there, another big leaf there. These little trumpet seed pods. Alright, so now the piece de resistance, some moss. So this moss, because this cage is a little bit more open, this is a higher moisture moss, I guess you could say. So I'm kind of just going to sprinkle it around the bottom and see what happens. Probably is, I have no idea what kind of moss it is, but hey, we're doing it. We're doing it anyway. So just gonna kind of put it around the cage a little bit. So it will take a little while, but this moss will start to kind of grow to the different stuff. Couldn't exactly tell you what kind of moss it is because I'm horrible, as you guys know, with the different plants and the names and all that fun stuff. Just simply tucking it in a couple different places, like in the cork rounds. So now guys, before I show you the final cut of these cages and also put the snakes in here as well, I do want to remind you, we will be at Aquashella in Chicago on the 14th and 15th of this month of August, so make sure you guys come check us out if you're in the Chicago area. Now I'm going to grab the snakes, put them in here, and then you're going to see what it looks like finally. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new. Let me know if you enjoyed the way I filmed this video. Comment down below. Hopefully you guys, learned something new. That was the whole reason I'm doing this. You guys asked for these videos, so this is what I'm doing. I got 2 more I already started building, so stay tuned for those videos as well. I'll see you in the next one. Like always, remember, subscribe if you're not already. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Big thank you to my Patreons. You guys are awesome. Bye!